Best Man Podcast. Today, Joe, my boy, my best man. What are we talking about?
We're gonna watch it. We're gonna talk about thriller movies and horror movies, and kind of come up with our top couple lists.
Yep.
So like, we're gonna. I feel like it's gonna be cool as we go through this because you're super into the thriller movie, horror movie, and that's not necessarily my thing. Like I'm more into like I love the thriller part. Like I haven't seen many horror movies because I struggle with the reality of it.
Yeah.
So, but you'd given me a couple of like ones I need to watch that'll kind of help me maybe get into it. So like I'm super excited to get into this one.
Good, good. Yeah. I definitely like thrillers and horror movies. Sometimes they coincide. They can be considered horror even if they don't have any actual ghosts or spiritual stuff going on or whatever. So I think they're in the same genre for the most part, I would say.
Hmm.
Because they get you on the edge of your seat.
Yeah.
Um,
So do we want to do like a honorable mentions and then get into our three and then go like 3, 2, 1, and then I'll do three, you do three, I do two, you do two, I do my one, you do your one.
yeah, let's just do our top three. And then, like, if we are caught up in the middle of we don't know what we want to choose for like some of these, those can go on the list of like honorable mentions.
Like at the end.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm good
Yeah,
with
yeah.
that.
Cool.
So,
So if you want to go first for three.
okay. So I'm doing three and I'm going to split them up. So like my three, I'm going to go with the movie Seven with Brad Pitt. Like I love that style of thriller, hunting down the bad guy, trying to figure out why he's killing everybody. Like I love that style. And it has some gore. It has some like it was probably pretty gory for that era of
It was.
time.
It had some gross stuff in it. Don't forget Morgan Freeman was in that.
Yeah, Morgan Freeman.
Fantastic movie. Yeah.
So like super fucking good. But like the suspense of what's happening, but you don't know what's coming. Like I fucking love that shit.
Yeah. What's in the box? Oh man. Dude. I might watch that tonight actually, now that you say that.
There's a
Because it's a
few in
classic.
there's a few in that one, like of like murders that like haunt me, like that stay with me.
I mean, yeah. Even just
L-
thinking about different parts of the movie. I'm with you.
Like the gluttony part of it, where that person had like came back and I think it was gluttony. It was either gluttony or like the addict. It was the addict, and they had came back and took pictures from the time that they had kidnapped him and like chained him to the bed, and to the point where they had basically died,
Hmm.
and like basically like you can get up or you can take this heroin. Like, fucking give me the heroin. And just
Yeah, they were
fucking took
still
all those
alive though. You
pictures.
remember that part?
Oh yeah. And they
Wild.
twitched like,
Oh,
oh,
gross. Yeah.
like that'll stay with you.
Yeah, I mean, especially because like not in my opinion, in a lot of people's opinion, and the majority, I would say, addiction is a real disease. It's not something that necessarily is like it's a sin, yes, according to the Bible, but not I think actually a lot of those sins that are in there were actual diseases. We won't go down that path. That's a super deep dive.
Yeah. So but like
So that just means mental disorder. So like those people got punished for something that they actually couldn't control.
yeah, like so it was like the sloth, the gluttonous, the addiction, like all of the seven deadly sins,
Hmm.
and this person was basically making them die from all those. So like it's a fucking
Pretty
wild
rough.
movie. And if
Pretty
you haven't
rough.
seen it, like it needs to go on your short list real soon.
Dude, I think most of our friends probably have seen it, but
Mm.
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
what's yours? Number three.
Man, number three. So the main reason I'm going to say this one is because it has a special place in my heart for being one of the first movies I snuck down to the living room to see when my brothers were watching it, but my parents wouldn't let me watch it because you know how strict they were when I was a kid. It would be The Sixth Sense.
Okay. So like
Um,
that was on a short list for me. Like I talked to Jess and like we kind of narrowed it out of the list.
mhm.
But yeah, that was definitely on it.
It was because like how real they made some of the scenes. Like the dead people were so alive, but still had the injuries they um, succumbed to when they died. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of those haunted me for a little while because I was so sheltered when I was a kid. I think I was like 12 or 13 when I snuck down to the living room and watched like half of it. My mom caught me and like yelled at me. I got in trouble and they made me go upstairs.
So you know what haunted me about that movie the most was there was a scene where there was like bodies hanging, like kind of in a stairway,
Yeah, the school used to be a courthouse.
and it reminded me of like in our high school when you're walking from like the cafeteria into the old part of the school, how there's that stairway there,
Yeah,
and it like the two corresponded so close to each other, like it freaked me the fuck out for a long time.
that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I didn't even think about it that way. They, they tore that down, right? Old school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, yeah, but it definitely looked almost exactly like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the thing that really got me, I mean, obviously when it comes to horror movies or thrillers, the twists that they have at the end are really what I enjoy because that's really good writing and it's really good creative way of making a movie happen because then they have all these pieces that finally get put together like a puzzle. So when you find out that Bruce Willis is actually dead,
Mm-hmm.
mind blown. And it's super smart the way that they did it.
I mean, spoiler alert, 20, 30, 40 years later. I
No,
don't know.
no, no. If there's a new one you haven't seen on my list, I won't tell you what happens. But yeah,
Okay.
one like that, no, came out forever
Go
ago.
fuck yourself.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
all know it now.
yeah, yeah. So that's my number three.
Okay. I like it. So my number two, like I had two on my list and I didn't know how to order them, and me and my wife had gone back and forth so many times, and like we were like going through movie lists of trying to come up with the third, because like for me like this was a hard one because of I have a lot of like honorable mentions, ones I enjoy, but like not a ton that like I really got into or like affected me in a certain way in my life. But like as soon as she said this name of the movie, I was like, fuck, that's it on the list. We're done talking about this conversation. And it's Donnie Darko.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it affected me in a point where like probably the first time I saw it was probably like 15, 16 years old. And it affected me to the point of like I enjoyed like fucked up movies. And that was the first one I really saw that like, I can say is like a fucked up movie.
Yeah.
And it sent me down a rabbit hole of like Donnie Darko, Passions of Darkly Noon. Like there's a second Donnie Darko. Like
I didn't know that.
there's a lot of like Mulholland Drive, like a lot of like fucked up movies that like at the end of it, like you're so confused on like what just happened. Like you have no idea, like you don't know where to start, where to begin, and like it it changed me for many years of like my version of like a horror movie, because like you end it and you're just mind fucked.
Yeah, man, that movie was wild. Um, Jake Gyllenhaal, great actor. He did awesome in that movie, especially like he was young, but he still was like really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that movie. I'm glad you brought that
So
one up because it's like a
did you ever
psychological
see,
thriller.
yeah, did you ever watch the second one? And it's basically the exact same movie, but it's from the view of his sister in the
Mm-mm.
movie. Like wild.
Okay, I'll have to watch that. I'll see if I can
And those
find it.
other two I said are like the same idea. Like you end the movie and you're like, what did I just watch? And like,
Yeah, is it the same director or writer or anything? Do you know? I know that's like a weird
probably
question.
like it's that same style. And it's just like, I mean, didn't Jake Gyllenhaal also do that movie? Like I think it was Jake Gyllenhaal did that movie where it was like Swiss Army Man.
Okay.
And it's basically like he was a dead person, and he was a person found him and was using him as a Swiss Army knife, like used him as a boat, used him as a shelter, used him as like
I've never seen that. Sounds
we
weird.
yeah. When we get done, we're gonna look up that preview because it is
Gnarly.
wild.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's been in some interesting ones on Netflix. I
For some reason, I either want to get it's either Jake Gyllenhaal or Harry Potter is the Swiss Army Man, but
oh that actor you mean? What is his
yeah.
name? Oh, Harry Potter is I forget what his name is. Doesn't matter. Um. Okay. So yeah,
So my search history is so fucked up. I type
Donnie
in
Darko.
SWI, and the first thing that pops up is Swiss Army Man.
Who was it?
Um, it's definitely Harry Potter. Daniel Radcliffe.
Yep. Yep.
So, all right, what's your two?
So my number 2 is a newer one. So I've watched a lot of thrillers, a lot of true crime movies and documentaries and shows. So this I had to just choose because there's too many to go through. So like I've seen so many in my lifetime um, that I was just like, I'm gonna go with a couple of these are newer, and you might not have seen it yet. But have you seen The Little Things? Denzel Washington, Jake Gyllenhaal, a few other pretty famous people that you probably recognize. It's
Okay.
awesome. It's a really
What's that
good
about?
crime thriller. Or not Jake Gyllenhaal. It's hold on. Jared Leto, I'm sorry. Jared Leto's the bad guy, and Denzel Washington is like this detective, but he either got fired or left, and then they bring him back just for a small part, and then he ends up helping with the investigation or whatever. It gets real twisted, but man, I'll be honest, Jared Leto did such a good job of being the bad
I've
guy.
seen this. Fuck.
The Little Things?
Yeah, like I'm watching the preview to it now, and I remember this.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. Came out in 21.
So, what's up?
Came out in 2021, so it's pretty new. It's on HBO Max.
Yeah, I've seen this. It's fucking good.
And Jared Leto being like I've known women to tell me how attractive he is and he's like a rock star, right? Because he's in 30 Seconds to
Yeah.
Mars and he's been on a bunch of movies or whatever where he's like an attractive guy. He's really, really good at being creepy. He just nailed it.
So, like in this movie, he actually, like, if I remember right, like they're suspecting that he did the murder, and they're kind of following him around, but he's also like saying that it wasn't him, he didn't do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it. Really fucking good.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I need to rewatch that one because I like that.
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
And like it was also like so suspenseful.
And they did a really good job with the filming. So like everything about it in general, good writing, good acting, good filming, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my number 2 for sure. And if people haven't seen it, check it out on HBO. It's a serial killer, and it's Jared Leto's the culprit, and he's super creepy. And I know that's weird to say, but they do a really good job of making him look super creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my number 2.
All right. So my number one, and like if I think of thriller movie, this is the first one that comes up to me. I don't think it's the first one I saw, but like definitely the first one that pops up to me, and it's The Bone Collector.
Oh, nice. Angelina Jolie.
And like, yeah, and like,
Is that Denzel too?
there's a few.
He's in the bed, right? He's
Yeah,
paralyzed or whatever.
he's paralyzed. He
Good choice.
he kind of talks her through some of the crime scenes early on, and then like, yeah, man, like it's that perfect level of like fucked up, perfect level of like suspenseful. Like, I fucking love that movie, and like it was kind of one of the first movies me and my wife watched together, like because like at some point we were like scrolling through something, trying to find something to watch, and like I was like, "Oh, The Bone Collector." And she's like, "Oh, I love that movie." I was like, "I do too."
Perfect.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
You gotta pay tribute to the classics. You know, we watch way too many movies, like 1,800 times. That was
Oh
like
yeah,
our
yeah.
repertoire when we lived together.
You said 18.
I
What?
said we would watch it like 1,800 times. I was exaggerating, but
Oh yeah, I was like, I thought you said the movie like 1800. I'm like, I don't know
no,
that
no.
one. Like,
I don't think there is one called 1,800. I know 1823. That's the show. It's a prequel to Yellowstone.
yeah. So like, that's my number one, and like, it was my number one for always. That was always number
Mhm.
one, and it was always kind of like how I was going to order the other two, and then coming up with Donnie Darko. But yeah, so
Nice, man. Good choice.
what's yours?
I mean, there's going to be a few of we talked about doing an honorable mention section for these because there's so
Mhm.
many good thriller and horror movies because we wanted to merge them because Joe doesn't really watch horror movies. But I think that some horror are actually more thriller than horror. It just kind of depends on what your definition of each is. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I tossed around a few, and I'm gonna have to say it might be leaning more towards horror, but it's a thriller because it'll keep you on the edge of your seat the entire time after like the first. So you know how a lot of movies kind of build up and then all of a sudden something happens, and after that it triggers the rest of the movie, and the rest of the movie you're just like, I can't
Mhm.
believe that happened. Like, I want to see what happens. It's Hereditary on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
That movie is completely fucked up. I've never seen a movie like it my entire life, and um, I don't even know how to describe it. You're looking up a preview.
Uh,
Okay,
yeah.
I was gonna say look up a preview. It might not even. So the previews were a little bit ominous, but that movie, I've. It's terrifying. It's terrifying. Like the way that they do that movie. I don't want to give anything away. If I tell you how it's terrifying, it gives it away. That's the thing. It's so messed up, dude. Um, but yeah, the actors and actresses in it are great. Um, yeah, it's weird, but
Yeah.
if you haven't seen it, you and Jess should watch it because it's came out in 2018.
From directors of The Witch.
Which I wasn't impressed with, but this movie's good.
This whole fucking dollhouse situation is tweaking me out.
Yeah.
All right. I get where we're going here. Little girl just cut a bird's head off with a pair of
Right.
scissors.
So I can't tell you what happens, but you have to watch it because I want to know your reaction because it's like I don't know what is your definition of horror compared to thriller because you wanted it when we talked about this originally. I said horror and you're like, "Well, let's do thriller." And I was like, "All right." But you said you don't watch a lot of horror, but I consider some thriller movies to be kind of horror.
Yeah, so like when I think of horror, I think of like the Halloween movies and I
Mm.
think of like slasher
Slasher
movies and
movies.
I think
Okay.
of
Yeah, this is not slasher at all.
like
But
yeah,
it's
so like that's why I think like if I think of the term horror, I think of that. So like I guess like this is kind of a good transition for us to go into this. Like when we get into this, like I looked up like the IMDb top grossing horror movies, and so like IMDb is like considered pretty respectable when it comes to movie listings and stuff like that,
mhm,
right? So you believe what it says, like
for the
how
most
it
part, yeah. Internet movie database,
okay.
for sure.
So number one on top grossing horror movies, it has Doctor Strange in the Multiverse.
That's a horror movie? I thought it was a Marvel movie.
Yeah. Okay. So you're on the same page
Yeah,
as
it
me, right?
doesn't count.
So number two is It. Like,
Which
okay.
one?
Like 2017, It.
The original or the newer one? 2017? The newer one?
Yeah.
I thought they did
Yeah.
a great job. Um, that's Bill
So
Skarsgård. Do you know that? Who played it?
no, I don't know who that is.
So Alexander Skarsgård, True Blood, a bunch of other movies, really good actor. His
Okay.
dad, um, you've probably seen him. He was in a bunch of movies. He was a professor on the Hulk. Yeah, he's been in a ton of stuff. So like their whole family has been in a bunch of movies. Yeah, good
Okay.
actor.
Three, I Am Legend. Thriller
Yeah, zombie
esque
apocalypse.
horror.
Yeah,
Okay. Four, The Exorcist,
the
1973.
original.
Okay.
Okay.
Um, It Chapter 2, 2019. Um, World War Z. Um, that was on my short list of like I fucking
It's a
love that
pretty good
movie.
one because it's like a thriller because those zombies are fast, and I
And
love how fast they
my
are.
I think it was my brother got real deep into the whole of like, okay, this was a book, like, and so he got into the books and basically was like, dude, like, they need to come out with the rest of the books in a movie form because basically, like, a lot of those zombies went dormant and went into the water, and
What?
then yeah, and you got swimming
Okay.
zombies, and then like zombies, like something happens and they start crawling out of the water again, like hundreds of thousands of zombies coming back out of the
No
water.
thanks.
Yeah. A Quiet Place.
Okay. I love those movies. Those were on my short list too. One and two. They're both great.
Get,
You know that was directed by the main
Get
actor,
Out,
the guy from The Office.
directed by the main
Yeah,
actor. Okay. Oh yeah, yeah,
Krasinski. He did a great job. Super impressed.
yeah. Number 8, Get Out. Number
Get
9,
Out was great.
Us.
Us was great.
And this is when this list, like, I already had questions about this list's credibility,
Okay.
right? Because like
Have you seen Nope yet? By the way,
I have
that's
not.
another.
It won a ton of awards.
Yeah. Um, it's hard to not give away what happens in movies by trying to explain how cool they are. That movie was not what
So
I expected, and it's fucking gross. Yeah.
so number 10 and 11 on the top grossing horror movie list on IMDb is Hotel Transylvania 2 and Hotel Transylvania 3.
Super lame.
Yeah, but then it gets back into Quiet Place 2, Halloween, and then number 14 on here, like, almost made it on my list. Um, What Lies Beneath.
Good thriller. Yeah. Or horror. A little bit of both because it's haunting.
Yeah, fuck,
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
creepy.
Michelle
Like,
Pfeiffer, Harrison Ford.
there's some scenes in there that are like
Yeah.
jarring.
Harrison Ford is the bad guy.
Like
Kind of
Halloween.
awesome.
Yeah, Halloween's on this list. Gremlins. The Meg.
The megalodon, right? The big
Uh,
shark.
yeah. So we get down to number 20 top grossing horror movies. Um, Split. Uh, Fucking good
Very good movie.
movie. A lot of people, a lot of people hated it, but I love the connection to like the um, what was the movie? The movie that
Unbreakable.
connected to at the very end, Unbreakable. Like nobody saw
Hmm.
that coming. Nobody had any idea there was going to be connection there, and like it was probably a small handful of people that watched that movie for the first time that instantly knew like, oh shit, like
Yeah.
Unbreakable, and
It's almost like he's making his own
like it was like
comics with these characters. It's awesome.
yeah. So like it was really really fucking cool. Like I
Yeah.
liked that
Split's
one.
awesome.
Um, Number 22 on the list, The Ring. That almost made it on because that was probably the first like horror movie I
Pretty
ever
scary.
saw. Was at the neighbor
Yeah.
Danny's house. There's probably like 10 of us there watch 10, 15 of us there watching on his
Good movie,
birthday.
man. So going back to Donnie Darko, you like the
Yeah.
movie Split, right? So, um, the main guy, James McAvoy, great actor. He's
Hmm.
Professor X in some of the new X-Men movies, the young Professor X or whatever. He's in a movie called
Yeah.
Filth, and if you liked Donnie Darko, I think you would like Filth because it's just like a psychological
Okay.
thriller. It's real fucked up, and he's the main actor, and it's pretty good.
Okay. So you look up thriller in IMDb, top grossing thriller movie. This is when it gets a little weird. So Fast and Furious 7, Fate of the Furious, Skyfall, Jurassic Park 1, number 4, top grossing thriller
Hmm.
movie. And like, if Jurassic Park is being considered a fucking thriller, like, fuck me for not putting it on it.
I mean,
Uh,
it's a great movie. It's a classic. So I guess a thriller could be anything that's suspenseful in a way. And when dinosaurs are chasing
yeah.
people, it's pretty suspenseful.
We could do a list of like having an animal or prehistoric character as the main character and see
We
what we can
could,
come up
for
with.
sure. Yeah.
Um, Joker number 5, like the new one with what's his face?
Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah. Did you like that one?
It was good for. It was more of an artsy movie than an action movie, even though there was violence in it. It was more psychological. Um, so
Yeah.
I think he did a good job. I think they did a good job of portraying how he became to be who he was from the actual storyline from the comic books. I think they were pretty true to like his actual story because it's depressing as
Yeah,
hell.
like I went into it and everybody was like, "Oh, it's terrible. Oh, it was awful." Like then I went into it, I'm like,
No, it
I don't
wasn't
hate it.
terrible. It
Like,
just it
wasn't
is what it
bad.
is because that movie was made for that specific reason. So like if you're going to it thinking you're going to see like Batman Begins, you're in the wrong movie theater.
Yeah. All right. So right after the Joker is The Dark
Nice.
Knight. Um 007, like it's a lot of like action movies. Number 10 is Inception. And Inception is one that like Jess was like, "Oh, you have to put on your list." I'm like, "I've never made it through. Like I've
I
always fallen
mean,
asleep." And she was like, "You've never seen it all the way through?" I'm like, "I physically cannot do it. I fall
I
asleep."
love that movie, but we honestly could probably do like a full. We could probably do a full category of just psychological thrillers because that would be one of them. Because I mean, you're tapping into people's dreams to plant a thought in their head to
Mhm.
make them fold their company that they just inherited from their dad who died. Like it's pretty gnarly.
Yeah. Hunger Games is on there. So like there's a lot of good ones. Mission Impossible.
Those are
Like
more action
so like I
movies with
struggle with like
suspense,
the
but I guess
yeah,
suspense is
all the thriller ones on here are all action movies, I think.
yeah.
The same thing. So I guess that's the difference is like what I consider a thriller movie. Society is saying it's a action movie or a horror movie, and what I consider an action movie is actually a
I guess
thriller. I
yeah.
don't know.
Anything with suspense, I guess, could be considered thriller. Yeah,
Yeah,
thrills.
but we made this segment go super super long, longer than we
We can
meant
split
to.
it up.
So, you guys, anything else you
No.
want
I
to
think
add?
we're good. We did top threes and then other ones. We'll probably have to revisit this because there's too many movies. But no, I think we're good.
Oh,
All right.
all right, sounds good, man.